everybody. This is Kelly Gregory with the Missouri Institute of Mental Health, and I'm joined today by Dr. Matt Kliethermes, and he's going to be doing a program for us called Trauma-Informed Schools. Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm the training director at Children's Advocacy Services of Greater St. Louis. I'm also a clinical professor in the Department of Psychological Sciences at the University of Missouri St. Louis. And I am a licensed psychologist, and I've been working with children exposed to trauma for approximately 20 years. And part of that's been being involved with a variety of programs for schools, trying to help them become more trauma informed, which really sort of led into thinking about this presentation that we'll be talking about on January 6th.
So there you go. So tell us a little bit about that presentation. What are you going to kind of go into, and what areas are you going to focus on?
Sure. We are really just going to focus on helping people understand what being a trauma-informed school actually means. We will talk about the impact of trauma on students and how it impacts school performance, things of that nature. We'll spend a fair amount of time talking about the impact of working with traumatized students on the school professionals themselves, and how they can kind of prepare for the impact of that, and how they can respond more effectively to children who they know do have trauma exposure that they are working with, and to engage with them in a way that's going to be supportive and hopefully not trigger trauma reactions. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of situations in schools that can be feel threatening or intimidating for kids who have been exposed to trauma. And so we're really going to try to focus on helping people understand those situations and how to handle them most effectively.
So do you think now there's a kind of a thing in the news here lately about a mental health issue explosion, as it were, for young people because of the COVID epidemic? Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think you might go into a little bit of that, or is that still on the cusp of becoming something?
Well, I think we definitely do know a fair amount that mental health issues are peaking for children. And I think one thing that's particularly relevant for this topic is that during the course of the pandemic, a lot of students weren't having regular contact with educators. They were doing virtual school, things of that nature. And we actually saw that there was a significant decrease in child abuse reports and things like that during the initial stages of the pandemic, that as kids got back into school more often, we saw a significant upswing. So there's pretty decent research suggesting that kids' exposure to trauma was probably elevated during the course of the pandemic, because we know rates of things like domestic violence increased during the pandemic, which kids are frequently exposed to that. So many of us in the trauma world anticipate that we're going to see a significant upswing, not just in mental health issues, but in trauma-related mental health issues, as the full effects of the pandemic are starting to kind of come to fruition.
It's all very interesting stuff and just happening right in front of us. And we want to thank you very much for joining me today. And thanks for everybody who's watching. And watch out for the emails coming up for the January 6th event with Dr. Kliethermes, Trauma-Informed Schools. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you there.